Hello, hello, my lovelies. I don't know about you guys, but being an American is kind of weird right now. I thought it would be kind of a fun idea to look at some other places around the world, get a look at kind of like their geography and stuff like that. I feel like Americans are pretty notorious for being just very uneducated about the rest of the world. I would like to attempt to break that stereotype to a certain degree, okay? It was suggested to me that I look at Geography Now, do a, reaction to their Malaysia episode and see kind of like what's going on in Malaysia. What do they do there? Without further ado, let's take a look and see what Geography Now has got to say about the country of Malaysia.
Well, here we go. Ever since I made the Indonesia episode, you have no idea how many Malaysians were like,
Okay, now that you did our cousins episode, do not mess with ours.
oh, don't worry, Malaysia. And here to reassure you, I made you some nasi goreng.
It's time to learn geography.
That's probably one that I should do. Maybe I'll look into like doing one on Indonesia too. I didn't know they were cousins, or like cousins meaning I assume that they're in close proximity together, right? Oh, okay.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbs. How refreshing. We are back in Southeast Asia, and today after Brunei, East Timor, Indonesia, we are doing the last country in the Nusantara archipelago, Malaysia. Ahem. Oh, sorry, didn't see you there, Singapore. You're so small. So what do the Malaysians bring to the table that the others don't? Well,
Wow, Singapore. Okay, yeah. See, I am already fulfilling the stereotype of the American of like, oh, did not know that's kind of in the same general vicinity as where Singapore was. Cool.
let's find out in the first segment. Cue transition. Now this is going to be really fun because Malaysia's land has so many unique twists and turns, and explaining it's kind of like doing a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Right, Ken?
Right, totally.
Yeah. You got it?
I don't know, did I?
You got it. First of all, Malaysia is located in Southeast Asia, divided into two main parts. Peninsular Malaysia, where about 40% of land, which also has the southernmost tip of mainland Asia, Tanjung Piai, while East Malaysia, or Malaysian Borneo, takes about 60% of the country's land on the island of Borneo, making it one of the only two islands shared by three nations along.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was going to say, I was like, so it's like in two separate places, essentially. Okay. Got it. Because it's in that little peninsula with all those like little kind of like islands and that kind of thing. That makes more sense. Okay. All right. I'm getting a better kind of grasp on where we're at. Okay.
With Cyprus. If you want to be technical, Cyprus kind of has 4, including the UN buffer zone, but you get the point. Just watch the Cyprus episode. Keep in mind, about 80% of the population lives on the peninsula, while only about 20% live on Malaysian Borneo. In addition, the country has over 870 islands off its shores, the state of Sabah having the most with nearly 400.
What? This one state has nearly 400 islands? Excuse me? Oh my God, okay.
The largest one being Bangi Island. However, the island of Sebatik is a little bigger, but the island is split in half with Indonesia in the south. Also, they have a little bit of a dispute with the Philippines in the east. The country is divided into 13 states and 3 federal territories. Putrajaya Labuan, with the capital Kuala Lumpur. However, due to overcrowding, almost all the government ministries and administrative offices were moved to Putrajaya in 1999. After
Putrajaya. I hope I said that right. Yeah? Maybe? Let's see. Putrajaya. Hopefully. Let me know in the comments below.
After Kuala Lumpur, the next largest cities are Georgetown on Penang Island and Ipoh. The busiest airports are Kuala Lumpur International, Kota Kinabalu, and Penang Internationals. Now here's the thing, Malaysia lies under the South China Sea. If you don't know anything about this place, and if you didn't watch the Brunei episode, it basically goes like this.
That's good to know because I did not watch either of those. So good to know that this is a place of conflict. Got it.
Basically, every country in this area wants a piece of these things called the Spratly Islands. Today, Malaysia has claim to about 11 of them, and the most notable one being Layang, which they built an airbase on. Now, you might notice that it's interesting how these two small entities, Singapore and Brunei, got mixed up into this whole region. Well, when it came to Brunei, it kind of went down like this.
Welcome to the Malaysia Agreement. Sultans, please sign the paper saying you'd like to be part of Malaysia.
Wait, I'd have to give up that? And I'd have to lose control of what?
Oh, so it went down basically just like every other thing in history. I have to do what? I have to give up what? How about no? Let's see.
Oh, hell no. As for Singapore, it was more like...
Shock face.
Hey, Malaysia, you just got free from British rule. Let's join up.
Makes sense? Yeah, we are now one country.
Yeah.
Oh no. And then literally like 2 years later, let me guess, they're fighting.
You have too many Chinese people, and you're gonna waste my money.
Yeah, well, you only get privileges to the Malays.
You know what? You're out of the club.
Yeah, fine. You know, whatever. I quit. One day, you know what? I'm gonna make something of myself.
Okay.
And boy howdy, did they keep that promise. Otherwise, some notable places of interest might include places like the largest roundabout in the world,
Oh my God. Did y'all see that? The largest roundabout in the world. That is ridiculous. Look how big that is. That's like what? Maybe a small airport that could fit inside there? An amusement park or two? Maybe a couple hotels? What?
the Petronas Towers, the tallest twin buildings in the world, Kuala Lumpur Tower.
Wow, look at that. It kind of looks like the Stratosphere over in Las Vegas or the Seattle Needle looking building, right? A little bit. Interesting.
The Batu Cave.
Ooh, look at that. Oh my God. I wonder what that's made of. If it's like, is that like solid gold? Was it rock and then they like painted it? Oh my gosh. Who upkeeps this? Because that is perfect, like looks immaculately clean despite being in like literally the jungle. Somebody's got to be out there cleaning this thing. And oh my gosh. Wow. That's incredible. Oh my gosh, look at all those stairs too. Wow.
With a Hindu shrine, the National Monument of Malaysia, Legoland, Malaysia.
Legoland, Malaysia. How cute. Oh my God, they have a Legoland. Oh my God.
Yep, they have one. Sunway Lagoon, the National Mosque of Malaysia, Kek Lok Si Buddhist Temple, these palaces, the old Dutch buildings of Malacca, the Leaning Tower of Teluk Intan, A Famosa Fortress, the cat statue of Kuching.
Oh my God, the cat statue of Kuching. How cute. Please let me know in the comments down below if you know what that statue, like, what is it commemorating? I'm very curious.
This heritage museum, Sarawak Cultural Villages, and the Sepilak Orangutan Rehabilitation Center. Yep, orangutan.
Orangutans! I love orangutans. Orangutans are endangered, if I'm not mistaken. I remember watching like Jane Goodall or Steve Irwin, and they'd be hanging out with like orangutans. Childhood memories.
They have plenty of those in here, which means we can now swing over to the next segment, When it comes to Malaysia's land, they got kind of lucky because not only is it like rich and beautiful, but unlike their neighbors, you don't really have to deal with any crazy catastrophes. First of all, Malaysia...
That is so nice. Because see, I would think a lot of these kind of like, I guess, islands and things, I would think that they would have to worry a lot about natural disasters like, you know, like a hurricane or tsunamis or that sort of thing. Maybe earthquakes and stuff. So that's very, very interesting that he's saying that that's not really a thing.
Comfortably on the bottom of the Eurasian plate, literally shielded on all sides, mostly by Indonesia and the Philippines. This means that if any earthquakes occur, Indonesia usually absorbs all of it. If cyclones and tropical storms attack, the Philippines and Indonesia take the hit. And if a volcano erupts, they don't have to worry because they don't really have any volcanoes, and it's probably happening in Indonesia.
Oh my God. Okay. So I was right. Okay. Minus the volcanoes part. I literally didn't even think about volcanoes. Don't know why I didn't think about that. Wow. That's so cool. They're like literally in like the most perfect little like buffer zone.
Thanks, Indonesia.
Now, when it comes to nature, even though the largest lake, the Kenyor Reservoir, lies on the West Peninsular Malaysia side, the Eastern Malaysia Borneo side has all the extremes. They have the highest mountain, Mount Kinabalu, the longest river, the Rajang, and a lot more animals. In fact, Malaysia is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. They have 14,500...
Oh my gosh, look at that. I do believe that that's a carnivorous plant, but the name escapes me right at this very moment. The name escapes me.
Species of flowering plants and trees, over 600 bird species, over 200 species of mammals.
It's a sun bear. He's adorable. How cute.
Speaking of which, peninsular Malaysia is home to the most black panthers in the world. Insert Wakanda joke, I don't have time. Speaking of that, the national...
Insert Wakanda joke. I don't have time. Oh my gosh. Oh, I bet they have a decent population of like wild tigers. And it's probably one of the few places that still has wild tigers.
national animal is the Malaysian tiger, which is also featured on the coat of arms, which we will cover in Flag Friday. Stay tuned. Otherwise, they have elephants, rhinos, orangutans, and they even have their own version of tapirs like the ones in South America. Wow. And that creepy looking proboscis monkey.
Oh my God, proboscis monkeys. Tell me it's not just Squidward as a monkey. Okay, that's literally Squidward as a monkey, and you will not convince me otherwise.
Many of these species you can find in one of the oldest rainforests in the world, over 3 times older than the Amazon, Taman Negara. Malaysia is also a land of caves. In fact, they have the largest chamber in the world that can be found in Sarawak. Otherwise, Malaysia is known for producing electronics, palm...
Okay, real quick when it comes to caves. Okay, caves, I love the thought of caves. Caves also scare me deeply, okay? It's the claustrophobia, it's the being deep under the earth, and if you combined being stuck in a cave and being underwater, absolutely not. It is a big no.
Oil, petroleum, gas, and rubber. They're actually the second largest palm oil producer in the world and the largest condom maker, just saying. They even have their own national...
It's probably from all the rubber trees. No pun intended on that one.
car company, Proton, making Malaysia the 11th country in the world with the capability...
Proton, I've never heard of this car company. It's probably one of those car companies that, the U.S. doesn't want me knowing about. It's probably like really cheap or something and super affordable, and it would be so nice to have, and it probably only costs like $3,000.
to fully design and engineer and manufacture cars. Otherwise, some national dishes might include things like nasi kandar, nasi dadang, nasi kerabu, chicken percik, mangosteen and durian are treasured fruits. And
Durian. Oh my gosh. I feel like there's quite a few countries where durian is kind of a prominent thing. I've never tried it. I have heard that it smells awful, but supposedly it tastes good. It's definitely on my bucket list of things I do want to at least try at least once. I can't completely be like or anything like until I've tried it, right?
the national dish, nasi lemak. Oh, and if you have the chance, see if you can witness the famous tarik tea shows. The servers pour out tea, sometimes over 1 meter in length. It's
oh my
seen as like an
God.
art form. Okay, I think that's just about it for now in this segment. Let's talk about the coolest part of Malaysia, the Malaysians. Just for the record, the word Malay refers to the races that make up Malaysia. Malayan is the geographic term for peoples of West Malaysia on the peninsula and not part of Borneo. And Malaysian is the nationality and citizenship. So a Malay person in Singapore is Malay, but not Malaysian. And a citizen of Indian descent living in Kuala Lumpur would be a Malaysian and Malayan, but not Malay. Got it?
That is slightly confusing, but I think I'm following. Okay.
Probably not. First of all, the country has about 32 million people and is one of the fastest growing nations in Asia. The country is made up of 67% Malay or Bumiputra indigenous Malay peoples. We'll talk more about that in a bit. About a quarter of the population is Chinese, about 7% are Indians, and the rest are other groups mixed in, including a few other Asian groups and Europeans. They use the Malaysian ringgit as their currency, they use the type G and M plug outlets, and they drive on the left side of the road. Now,
How interesting. They drive on the left side of the road. Also, can we just talk about real quick why some other countries have really pretty money and it's colorful and stuff? Why don't we have pretty money here in America? Our money's not pretty. It's not fun. Like, it's all the same color. I kind of want pretty stuff. Is that so much to ask for?
Here's the thing. Let's talk politics. No, we're not getting into an ideological debate. We're just going to explain the system in which Malaysia's government operates.
Proceed.
Malaysia is one of the few monarchies in the world. However, it's not a monarchy in the conventional sense because they kind of have 9 kings-ish. These
9 kings? Oh my God. Could you imagine if each state had like its own like quote unquote like king? Ew. I mean, I guess they kind of do. I guess that's kind of what like governors are, but they're not like kings or anything. And honestly, like they don't really have any real like power or anything. So like, interesting. I wonder if they like have the same power as a king.
states each have a royal leader known as a sultan, and every 5 years they rotate to allow one of the 9 sultans to rule as head king, known as the Yang Di Pertuang Agong. That means that technically, if you were a boy and your dad just finished being king for his 5-year term, you could be the next one, but you would have to wait at least 40 years for it to happen. You know, since 8 other kings would have to be king before you. Yeah, I know, it's like, oh, what the? There's a lot more that goes into it, but that's kind of like the basic underline. They are the only.
How interesting. What an interesting system. I mean, I like it because then it does at least give each of them the opportunity to rule, which is good. You know, it seems fair at least. But yeah, that does kind of suck. Like, you'd have to wait 40 years until it was your turn. Yikes.
Only country that does this. I mean, the closest thing would be maybe the Comoros with that rotating president thing, but it's nowhere near as complex as this. Nonetheless, the royals are held under a constitution that limits their power mostly to cultural and religious affairs, as well as appointing certain leaders and so on. Most of the
Okay, at least there's some checks and balances of powers. Obviously, I would assume it's clearly not anywhere close to like how the U.S. is, but there's at least some checks and balances here and there kind of thing. That's good.
government activity is held and controlled by the Prime Minister and the Parliament. Which brings us to the most recent controversy, the 2018 election. This effectively changed everything, as for the first time since 1957, the BN party was voted out and the new PKR party took over. And it was actually a peaceful transition. We really don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but it's really interesting to look into and talk to a Malaysian person if you want to know more about it. It was like a huge deal for the country. Anyway.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna need to know. You're gonna have to let me know in the comments down below. Direct me to a video that I can watch about this, because that sounded very interesting. I need to know. Hit me with a link down below, okay? Thank you.
The country has 2 official recognized languages, Malay and English. They were once a British territory, so it kind of makes sense. It's taught from elementary school. Malay is basically intelligible to Indonesian. Both countries can generally understand each other. I explained this a bit in the Indonesia episode. For Malay, the words are easy to read, but the problem is the intonation. For example, the word for slowly, I believe, is perlahan, not perlahan. It's like you have to know how these things work. Nonetheless, about half of the population is mostly fluent in 3 languages, adding their mother tongue, especially if they're part of the Chinese and Indian minority groups, and they are allowed.
Wow, most of them know 3 languages. That's impressive, okay? I would say most Americans only know 1 language, even though, like, during school, well, okay, I went to private school, so maybe this isn't for everybody. At least when I went to school, and where I went to school, and, being in private school, we had to select a language, and it was either, Spanish, French, or Latin. I did 5 years of Spanish, and I unfortunately probably don't remember a whole lot of it. I can generally, like, understand what someone is saying. It's more the figuring out how to respond part that usually gets me a little tripped up. But I think that would be something that would be so beneficial if we, kind of made that a little more of a prevalent thing in school. It's like learning other languages. Like, I know in Europe, because they're in such close proximity to everybody, I feel like most Europeans know multiple languages. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like most of them do. Maybe something we should think about doing.
to take vernacular schools that teach in these languages, just like Singapore. Which brings to culture. In Malaysia, the population is quite diverse. You have a lot of Chinese, known as the Peranakan Chinese, that have existed there since the 15th century. They have a unique Chinese-Malay culture with a touch of European influence. The Indian community is mostly Tamil and Telugu-speaking South Dravidian Indian groups that were brought over during the British colonial years. Then, of course, you have the largest people group, the ethnic Malays, or the Bumiputra, as well as the Orang Asal, whom are like the really indigenous ethnic Malays that make up the majority of the population in East Malaysia on Borneo. Sometimes these two people groups are collectively joined together under the term Malay, although some might disagree. But either way, these two groups kind of steer the direction in terms of what constitutes Malay culture. Oh, and don't even...
How interesting. So you've got like two predominantly like native groups, it sounds like, that kind of sway tradition and culture and things. That's very interesting.
Get started on the Bajau people that live on these structures in the middle of the ocean for most of their lives, and they've adapted to hold their breath for like 15 minutes underwater. Yeah, those
Oh
people
my God, that's insane. I've totally heard about them though. I saw a documentary about it. It was the most interesting and fascinating thing. Like they literally have like trained themselves to like hold their breath for not literally 15 minutes, but for very long extended periods of time. And like even their swimming capabilities have like evolved and things. It's very fascinating.
Cool. Another thing I really want to highlight is that sometimes Indonesians do kind of accuse Malaysians of stealing their culture because a lot of Malaysians are descended from Sumatra. Faith-wise, Malaysia is also quite diverse. Although the country's official religion is Islam, it's a multi-confessional nation. Buddhists are mostly from the Chinese community, Hindus for the Indians.
Let's see. Okay. So you've got largest being Islam, then you have Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, other Chinese religion, other religion, no religion, unknown. Okay. So, but the largest, it seems like the overall largest religious denomination is Islam. And then a close second would be Buddhism. Perfect. Love that.
Christians from all races. Numerous temples, mosques, and shrines and churches are found all over. Malay culture is defined by a number of aspects. For one, the clothing. Remember a couple months ago that guy from Malaysia, Kamarul, sent me the Malay hat, the Tenggolok? So I forgot to bring this on set when we were filming, but I still have the hat, and I love it, and I told you I would wear it in the episode. So here I am. I'm wearing it in the Malaysia episode. Thank you so much, man. I asked some of you guys, the Malaysian geographies, what you would like me to highlight in terms of Malay culture, and some things you said included things like the performing arts, such as joget dancing and makyong theater, traditional shadow puppetry, silat martial arts, songket weaving, the traditional steep roof and sharp buttress art.
Oh my gosh. Look at the architecture there. How? It is so impressive to me how they're able to do that.
Architecture, gamelan music. Speaking of which, history time. We don't have enough time to go too far into it, but in the quickest way I can put it, Hindu kingdoms, Buddhist kingdoms, Islamic Sultanate, Portuguese came in, Dutch came in, British came in and made the White Raja period, which made things interesting. World War II, Japanese came in, British came in again, independence. Okay, very quickly just to cut, this is the part where I totally forgot to mention all the cool stuff that happened in the 60s. It's how they got those two states in Borneo. We'll explain more on Flag/Fan Friday, so stay tuned. Economic restructuring and industry boom, 2018 vote for the new prime minister, and here we are today.
Wow.
Some notable people that you guys, the Malaysian geography, suggested that I should mention in this video might include people like Siti Nur.
Wow. Look at that headpiece. I'm telling y'all, so these people from Malaysia, they always have like these really gorgeous headpieces. I feel like when they're doing like performances and things, they're always so gorgeous. And I'm so curious, how heavy is it? It looks heavy.
Aliza, Lat, the cartoonist, Sheikh Muzaffar Shukor, P. Ramli, Ziavi, Hang Tua, Enrique of Malacca, Michelle Yeoh, Tony Fernandez.
Michelle Yeoh. I've seen her in a couple of things. I didn't know she was Malaysian. That's good to know. She was in Wicked recently, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah, she was the professor. Yeah.
Tony Fernandez, AirAsia owner, designer Jimmy Choo, Melinda Louie,
Jimmy Choo.
singer Yuna, director James Wan, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, Nicole An David, Lee Chong Wei, Henry Golding, and the first Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman. I'm sure there's way more famous people I could have mentioned, but we gotta move on. Time to go to the last part of this episode, the Now,
Friend
Malaysia
zone.
is quite the powerhouse player when it comes to Southeast Asia. They got a good thing going on and they host great parties. Outside of Asia, the EU has good relations, making Malaysia one of the top 3 trading partners of Southeast Asia, and specifically Austria loves exchanging electronics and pharmaceuticals with them. Of course,
How interesting. Austria likes trading with them. How interesting. That's not something I would have ever guessed. I don't know why it's not something I would have ever guessed, but it just isn't. How interesting.
the UK is still pretty close. As a former colony, much of the cultural
Makes
residue
sense.
is still evident to this day. They are one of the Commonwealth of Nations. Many Malaysians live in the UK, and most of the white population in Malaysia are of British descent. As a member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, of course, they have close ties to their neighbors. Cambodians love Malaysia and visit often, whereas Malaysia is one of the closest and biggest investors of Cambodia. Thailand has a few issues, since there are those Malay Patani separatists in the south that keep protesting, whereas the Philippines is like, we're really similar ethnically, but you're mostly Muslim and I'm mostly Catholic, but whatever, we both like coffee and fried chicken. When it comes to their best friends, however, most Malaysians I've talked to have said Indonesia and Singapore. Singapore may have left the Malaysian Union, but they still kept close ties as a sovereign state. They are
Okay, so they are friends. Okay, good. At least they're friends.
quite cooperative in business and even culturally. They are very similar, with noticeable Chinese and Indian minority enclaves. Indonesia is like the big brother that has a very different political system, but in the end, they cannot deny how alike they are. The biggest difference would be that most Indonesians have a Javanese background, whereas the Malaysians are just Malay, mostly Sumatran, but they talk the same, they eat the same, they enjoy the same hot, humid atmosphere, and they have close relations altogether. In conclusion, with sultans, kings, tigers, panthers, temples, shrines, mosques, and really cool hats, it's no wonder why Malaysia is becoming a hot spot that everyone's talking about today.
How cool. I learned so much. I might end up doing these a little more frequently because I really don't want to be one of those uneducated Americans, okay? So I picked a country that I literally I don't know anything about at all. And here we are. I'm so happy that I was able to learn a little bit about this today. What did you guys think about this video? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, give your girl a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because why haven't you? I'll stop blabbing y'all's ear off and I will see you the next time I record. Bye-bye.